Hello, YouTube. Welcome to Review and Shop. Today we will watch the best smartwatches for the Android available on the market. Smartwatches are getting more and more place in our lives. Many of us even say that they have already replaced old analog clocks. Let's see what the best ones on the market in 2018. Enjoy the video. Please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Number 5, Kingwear KW88. The number 5 watch on the list is rather unusual. That is because it is not from some high-profile manufacturer. As a matter of fact, it is from a Chinese company called Kingwear. I found the Kingwear KW88 while doing a research on smartwatches, and it intrigued me so much that I decided to examine. I make sure there are no expectations whenever I am reviewing a product, a lot like several of my readers. I was surprised when I realized that the watch is actually a lot better than I thought it would be. I can say that the Kingwear KW88 is definitely the best smartwatch that can be purchased for under $150. This is a very bold statement, but it is true. Aside from the weird features like a camera on the side, the rest of the watch is pretty standard. It does not run Android Wear, but a full-fledged, modified version of Android itself. The overall operation is pretty smooth, and the watch does all the tasks you ask it to do. So, there are no complaints whatsoever. It even has fitness trackers along with their respective apps that allow the user to keep a track of his or her activities. It uses a 1.3 AMOLED screen, which basically means that you get saturated colors, great brightness, and amazing view angles. I cannot really create a fuss about the screen, especially not with the price tag this watch carries. The watch also comes with Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and cellular options, and although many people will not be interested in making calls through this small watch, it is still good to see that company is trying to squeeze in a decent amount of features that the users want. You also get 4 gigs of onboard storage coupled with a quad-core MediaTek processor. At the end of the review, I would only like to say that for less than $150, the Kingwear KW88 is a pretty good bargain. So what if it lacks all the fancy features of the top smartwatches that I have reviewed so far? It is built for a specific use case and audience, and it does the job it is supposed to. You are not required to spend an insane amount of money on a smartwatch if you can get the job done with something that costs the fraction of the money. Number 4, Motorola Moto 360 Sport. To this very day, the original Moto 360 remains among the list of my favorite smartwatches. The understated and minimalistic design is something to die for. After several years, I am looking at the Motorola Moto 360 Sport, a newly released version that is more suitable for sporty users. I am glad to see that Motorola is still following the design language of the original Moto 360 with some minor tweaks here and there. This was one of my biggest concerns when Lenovo acquired Motorola a few years ago, but after seeing the Moto 360 Sport, it is no longer there. The 360 Sport drifts away, and does not present itself as something fancy, and while it is built for people who prefer to remain active, and enjoy sports a lot, there is nothing that will stop an average consumer from using this. I do not play much sports, and despite that, the watch welcomes me with good amount of features. The design is still understated, and looks good. However, I cannot bring myself to understand the presence of that small chin that still resides on the watch face. It is something that has always bothered me, and even though it is no longer as prominent as it used to be, I can't help but wonder the reason for it. Now my favorite thing about the Moto 360 Sport is obviously the screen, and not just the screen itself. The tech that goes into it is amazing. Now the reason I am praising the screen so much is because while the screen may look the same to everyone, it uses a clever tech that Motorola is calling Any-Light Display. When the user is looking at the watch under the normal light, and actively using the watch, it looks your standard LCD screen. However, as soon as the watch goes idle, or there is direct light on the watch faces, the screen turns itself into a trans-reflective display. A display that I have seen on the Pebble Time watches. This feature is to make sure that the battery life gets preserved, and the user is able to read the time and date with ease. Speaking of battery life, it saddens me to say that it is not as good as I had expected. Sure, smartwatches use smaller batteries as compared to our other devices, but they are supposed to be efficient enough to power the watch throughout multiple days. Number 3, Huawei Watch 2. In my opinion, Huawei is one of the companies that tried to make the smartwatches relevant by perfectly mixing the design elements of traditional watches with the advanced features of smartwatches. The Huawei Watch 2 is a testament to what they have achieved. The Huawei Watch 2 comes with Android Wear 2.0, the OS is a huge improvement over the original Android Wear, and definitely has a lot more features than the original did. I realize how it is important for all the watches to be comfortable and lightweight enough to wear, and the Huawei Watch 2 nails it. The watch can be worn the entire day without feeling uneasy, or too much to handle. Considering how the watch comes at a higher cost as compared to the other watches, it is only fair that you get good amount of options. The Watch 2 does deliver on that front by providing several options to the user. It has plenty of sports sensors, and other fitness sensors as well, and that is not all. The watch also has a feature known as the real-time workout guidance. This is amazing for everyone who is on the lazier side and want the watch's guidance system to help them out here. Thanks to a plethora of sensors that are in the watch, fitness and activity tracking is spot on, allowing you to track almost anything there is to track. It also makes me happy to say that the watch can last up to 2 days on a single charge. For those looking for more, I am happy to tell you that the Watch 2 also comes with Bluetooth and NFC. This makes the whole concept of Android Pay a lot easier, especially in countries where it is available. Having Android Pay up and running almost eliminates the purpose of carrying cash. I am very much happy with the Huawei Watch 2. There are some things that I wish were different, but it seems like it is going to change in the next Huawei watch. For starters, the design is not the best quality of the watch. Sure, it is simple and practical, but at the same time, it is also uninspiring. The design issue also carries on to the fact that the Watch 2 has a small screen coupled with thicker bezels. It would not have been an issue if the screen size was a bit larger to properly adjust the bezels, but that is not the case. In conclusion, the Huawei Watch 2 is an amazing smartwatch with some shortcomings. Luckily, the shortcomings are not enough to push the customers away. This makes the Huawei Watch 2 one of the best smartwatches 2018, and definitely something you should check out. Number 2, Samsung Gear S3. For years Samsung's Gear series of smartwatches have been dominating the market for all the right reasons. This is what happens when you take clever marketing and amazing products in order to combine them together. The Gear S3 is definitely one of my favorite smartwatches. Right out of the box, you can tell that the S3 is a top smartwatch. Released earlier this year, the S3 focuses on everything that was right in the previous versions, and adds even more features than before. Sure, I know it costs comparatively higher than some of the other options on the list, but it is okay. Starting off, the build quality is extremely pleasing, with premium quality materials used throughout the construction. The watch definitely feels like a fashion statement as much as it feels like a premium smartwatch. Unlike some of the other smartwatches in the market, the Gear S3 does not run on Android Wear. Instead, it runs on Samsung's own OS called Tizen. Before my review, I had my doubts about this OS as it is still something new and unknown to me. Luckily, upon using the watch for a week, I can say that the OS is promising. However, the severe lack of apps may keep some users at bay. Samsung recently pushed an update to this watch, allowing you to save offline Spotify playlists onto the 4 GB of storage. This feature makes my life easy because I no longer have to rely on my data connection to listen to the music whenever I am outside. The Gear S3 has an animated always-on display, and unlike some of the other watches I use on a standard basis, this is one gorgeous display, courtesy of Samsung. Another great thing that I like about the Gear S3 is the fact that it comes loaded with activity trackers of all sorts, and while several people might feel skeptical about it, especially when you think about the amount of permissions it requires, it actually is not that big of an issue, to be honest. The Gear S3 also offers a great, intuitive interface that is among the best I have seen in any smartwatch. All of these good features combine and make this a top smartwatch. However, I do have some concerns that are necessary to be listed out. For starters, the watch looks big on your wrist. Now that is something that completely depends on how your wrists are. This is a subjective issue by all means, but I still believe it is important to point it out. Another thing that was a disappointment was the sheer lack of proper apps. That is mainly due to the fact that Tizen is still a smartwatch OS that is developing and becoming better. If you are okay with these minor inconveniences, then I can tell you that the Samsung Gear S3 is definitely one of the best smartwatches. And finally, number 1, Garmin Fenix 3. Garmin is a company that is known for their top-of-the-line GPS technology that we have seen in so many different fields. So it was generally an exciting thing for me when I got the Garmin Fenix 3. One of company's brilliant smartwatches. I can tell right away that this watch is amazing. The Garmin Fenix 3 can easily be called the holy grail of smartwatches simply because it comes loaded with features that you would want from a high-end smartwatch. It has a big, beautiful, and bright display. On top of that, you also get a hard-wearing body. In case you are not aware, the body can take some abuse and still hold up, thanks to Garmin's choice of premium materials. The watch does come with a choice of a rubber band, or metal band. I have the one that has the metal band and I have to say, it is amazing. The battery on the Garmin Fenix 3 is another one of its strong point. I charged the battery a week ago, and after a week of usage, I am still left with 50% left. This is by far the best battery timing I have seen on a smartwatch, and this does make the Garmin Fenix 3 a #1 choice. Another really impressive thing about the Fenix 3 is the amazing, over-the-top GPS tracking. Though this should not come as a surprise because of how good Garmin is in GPS technology. It is good to see the company reflecting its expertise into their products as well. The watch is also water resistant up to 100 meters, easily beating the best of the best in the market in water resistant. You can take it to showers, swimming, diving, and it still will not give under the water pressure, or the depth. However, water type does depend as well. The one thing I love is the fact that Garmin Fenix 3 is not trying to be a replacement of Apple Watch or Android Wear watches. It uses its own OS, its own app store, and still manages to hold its own identity. Not just that, it completely eliminates the competition that tries to come close. Sure, I do have some issues with the watch, like the fact that there is no activity tracker for golf unlike some other Garmin watches, and the watch does not support on-watch maps. Though these issues do not break the overall experience with the watch, which is downright brilliant. As a conclusion, I would only say that Garmin has done a fantastic job in creating a smartwatch that, despite its unique identity, still managed to create a league of its own. Not just that, it will also serve as a benchmark for many more smartwatches to come in the market in the near future.